The story that will be told in this video occurred in 1978. The unidentified murder victim, found in a small town, was referred to as the Granby girl for many years. During the 44-year investigation, numerous theories were examined, and at some point, even the name of a famous killer surfaced in this case. But only on March 6, 2023, at a special press conference, was it announced who the victim really was. Subscribe to this channel and don't forget to click the bell to get notifications about new videos. The small town of Granby, with a population of just over 6,000 residents, is located in Hampshire County, Massachusetts. Its quiet life was disrupted by a disturbing event that took place on November 15, 1978. In a wooded area, not far from a road, loggers discovered a body. The responding police found the corpse of a woman buried in a shallow grave under a layer of leaves with a log on top. It was clear that it had been there for a while. Forensic experts determined that the cause of death was a gunshot wound to the victim's left temple. It was not possible to accurately determine when this had occurred, but it was speculated to have been about 6 months before the discovery, in June 1978. The girl's face was completely unrecognizable, and her age was estimated to be between 19 and 27 years old. She had light, fairly long hair. The woman's dental care was obviously insufficient. There was noticeable decay on at least her front teeth. She was dressed in a short-sleeved shirt with a green collar and an image of a green swan on the chest. She also wore black underwear, blue jeans, a blue sweater vest, and brown shoes. On her finger was a 14-karat gold ring with illegible initials. And around the girl's neck was a brown leather belt, apparently used to drag the corpse along the ground. The body was found about 200 yards from Amherst Street and 900 yards from road number 116 in Granby. This was the road where students typically hitchhiked to get between Mount Holyoke College in South Hadley and institutions located in the Amherst area. Therefore, given the presumed age of the deceased and the location of her discovery, investigators theorized that she might have been a student at one of the local colleges. A check revealed that none of the girls studying nearby were listed as missing. However, this only related to recent cases. It turned out that a strange event had occurred several years earlier in a neighboring area. Lynn Schulze. In 1971, Lynn Catherine Schulze was 18 years old. She was a freshman at college in Middlebury, Vermont. The girl loved outdoor activities and traveling. She often hitchhiked, and when she had vacations, she would travel to Simsbury in Connecticut. On Friday, December 10, 1971, Lynn had her first exam ever. At 7:45 a.m., her roommate saw that Lynn was still sleeping and left without her. At 12:30 p.m., Lynn was seen on Court Street, near the All Good Things store, which sold healthy food. She was eating a prune she had bought in the store. To an acquaintance, she mentioned she planned to travel to New York, but the necessary bus had already left, so she returned to the dormitory. Just 15 minutes later, she was seen by 2 college students as she went with them to take the exam. However, she realized she had forgotten her favorite pen and decided to go back for it. Her behavior seemed strange to the young men, and she herself appeared to be confused. She never returned and missed the exam. She was next seen an hour and a half later, at 2:15 p.m. on Court Street, across from the bus stop with another student. Since then, no one has ever seen her again. Not long before her disappearance, Lynn admitted that she was dissatisfied with her life. In letters to her friends and family, she wrote that she missed home and was considering dropping out of college. Furthermore, she expressed that she wanted to stage her own death and start a new life. However, none of her loved ones took these words seriously, and as far as anyone could tell, she took no steps to actualize these plans. In fact, she registered for the next semester. Her family also didn't believe that Lynn was in such a depressed state as to deliberately vanish without a trace. Even though Lynn's relatives never stopped looking for her, they believed that she had been killed. After many years, detectives started to share this opinion, but further investigation revealed that she was not the unidentified victim found in 1978. When the investigation of all available leads and attempts to find the murder victim's relatives led to no results, the deceased was buried in a local cemetery. A simple white wooden cross was placed over her grave. In 20 years, the residents of Granby raised money and installed a nice granite headstone indicating the date the unknown woman was found. At that time, the unidentified became known as the Granby Girl, and so it went on for almost 4.5 decades. Only on March 6, 2023, at a specially convened press conference, was it announced that the unfortunate woman's identity had been established. While we are glad to finally know who the Granby Girl truly was, the investigation will not stop until we identify her killer and bring justice to her family. This investigation has spanned decades and will continue until all possible leads have been pursued, said First Assistant District Attorney Stephen Gagne. The Othram Laboratory had been studying the DNA material of the unidentified for 2 years, and only in 2022 were they able to establish a close genetic link of the deceased to a woman from Maryland. The police contacted her and found out that her aunt, who had gone missing in 1978, had 2 sons. The genetic material of one of them, Matthew Dale, showed a 100% match to the mother-child pattern. Patricia Ann Tucker, born July 15, 1950, turned out to be the deceased. She was already 28 years old at the time of her death. She had been married several times, so during her life she also had the surnames Hackman and Dale, and shortly before her death, Coleman. But Patricia's relatives asked to use her maiden name instead of this, and they have good reasons for that. A year before her murder in Middletown, Connecticut, she married Gerald Coleman. They bought a house in a picturesque location in East Hampton on the shore of Lake Pocatapog, but their life together was not long. Despite the fact that the victim's son, Matthew Dale, refused to communicate with journalists, he, together with his wife and several other relatives, attended a press conference dedicated to identifying his mother. He thanked everyone who has worked and continues to work on this case. He also shared the circumstances of his parting with his mother. Matthew remembers how he, his mother, and a man named Jerry were riding in a car that was unfamiliar to him. The 5-year-old boy was in the back seat with a bubbly lining, and when the car stopped, his mother told him to cross the road and go to the playground. This place was an orphanage. The accuracy of the man's recollections is unknown, as the police managed to find other information about how Matthew ended up in the orphanage. On August 8, 1978, his mother came to her acquaintance, Laura Holmes, in the town of Chicopee, and asked her to look after her son, saying that she would return soon, but that never happened. 2 days later, Holmes contacted the Department of Children's Affairs. Social Services took the boy, and the next day, his biological father came for him. Chicopee is only 11 miles from where Patricia was found murdered 3 months later. The deceased's husband, Gerald Coleman, often called Jerry, never reported her missing, and never contacted the police about it. Moreover, he died in prison in 1996, serving a sentence for rape and illegal use of a weapon. Investigators now consider him the prime suspect in this case and ask anyone who knew Coleman or Tucker at any period of their lives to contact law enforcement and share information. As for Lynn Schultz, many years after her disappearance, detectives began to suspect millionaire Robert Durst in her murder. The fact is, the health food store where the girl was buying prunes belonged to the infamous Durst. Also, it was located on the same street where the girl was last seen. Robert Allen Durst was the son of famous New York tycoon Seymour Durst. His father was credited with the idea of installing a clock that would display the U.S. national debt in real time. In 1971, Bobby, as he was called in the family, did not want to engage in the family business and moved to Vermont, where he opened a small grocery store named All Good Things. Soon, he met his future wife, Kathleen McCormick, and she started helping him. Less than 2 years later, they closed the shop and moved to New York. Kathleen disappeared without a trace in 1982. Durst was suspected in her murder. In the year 2000, Susan Berman, a longtime friend of Durst's, was found murdered. It is believed that she helped Robert create an alibi at the time of his wife's disappearance. After this, the man went on the run after first killing and dismembering his neighbor, Morris Black, which he later confessed to. Durst was caught when he attempted to steal a chicken sandwich, a Band-Aid, and a newspaper from a store, despite having $500 in cash on him and $37,000, a firearm, and drugs in his rented car. After this, he was put on trial, but was only convicted for one murder, that of Susan Berman. The investigation was lengthy, and it was only in 2021 that he received a life sentence, but died of cancer 6 months later, on January 10, 2022. The case of Lynn Schultz's disappearance garnered attention from investigators in relation to the Granby girl case. It was hypothesized that the student ran away and was killed 7 years later, but this theory was later discarded, and the hypothesis that Schultze became one of Durst's victims became more prominent. And what do you think? Was it Gerald Coleman who killed his wife, or was it someone else? And also, did Lynn Schultze disappear voluntarily, or was she killed by Durst?